how to solve a quadratic inequality. You can write this right at the top of page 341 on the side. You'll have enough space there. The first two steps are exactly the same steps that you would use to solve a quadratic equation. What did we do first for solving a quadratic equation? We make one side equal to just 0. So we made one side equal to 0. Then you will solve it exactly like a quadratic equation. And I'll put in brackets factoring as a first option, the quadratic formula as a second option. I'm not going to write completing the square. And sometimes graphing calculator. So that's a review of chapter 3. Solve it like a quadratic equation. Then we're going to use chapter 4. We're either going to use the graph, which is from chapter 4, or something I'll call test points. To find the solution. And then last, once you found the solution, write it out. So those are the basic idea. We use chapter 3. We solve an inequality like a quadratic equation. Then we can use the graph to find out when is it greater than 0? Well, you can see right by the graph. When is it less than 0? You can see right by the graph. I'll show you what test points mean so that you can use that as another option if you don't want to use the graph. However, I do find that the graph works really well. And then finally, you're going to write your solution. Okay, a couple of things also that I wanted you to highlight from the section before. This, remember how we had 3 words for x-intercepts? X-intercepts, zeros, roots, solutions. And for inequalities, they came up with another name for them, critical values. It must be super important if it gets all these names, right? So we call them critical values. And the reason they're critical is they're where the y values change from positive to negative. And that's important for an inequality because you're often, when you make it equal to 0, you either want to find out where it's bigger than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 0. So you're looking for those points where it changes from being positive to negative. So that's why we call them critical values. Perhaps. And we've talked about the open circles and closed circles. That just is why it's open. Open says it's not part of the solution.